Very short, the other thing I had was on the medical side where I had to deal with an insurance company. And next thing you know, I took my files over to a local doctor here, not naming names. But anyway, I called the doctor's office, and actually, I'll tell you a little bit later after this break.
Okay.
The circle of life is a powerful force. Keep your circle healthy by getting a flu vaccine. Pregnant women, young children, elders, and anyone with health conditions like diabetes and heart disease are especially vulnerable. Your flu vaccine protects me. My flu vaccine protects you. Together, let's protect the circle of life by getting vaccinated. Learn more. Call 1-800-232-4636 or visit cdc.gov/flu.
You don't usually get a stock tip from a 16-year-old, but I'm here to tell you about a different kind of stock. It's called Better Futures, a stock for social change that's not about making money. Instead, you invest to help students like me go to college. This is beyond a simple donation. It's the opportunity for America to invest in its kids and take an active stake in the future of the country. The return on your investment isn't money. What you get back is knowing you protected our potential. So one day, that potential can grow up to become surgeons and architects, executives and engineers, people who can change the future just by being a part of it. My name is Alicia, and I'm your dividend.
Invest in better futures with UNCF. Visit uncf.org/invest. A mind is a terrible thing to waste, but a wonderful thing to invest in. A public service announcement brought to you by UNCF and the Ad Council.
And we are back. We have been discussing insurance for a while. You're listening to Society Bites Radio. And if you have any comments, questions, or concerns, don't hesitate to go to our website at Society Bites, BYTES Radio. Leave your comments and concerns. We have a special forum for you on the More tab called KMK Connect. Click on that and let's see what you have to say. Back to you, Joe.
So as I was saying, I'm not naming names of the companies, but the insurance company said, yes, I'm covered, all this other stuff. I called the medical doctor's office. They said, yes, I can drop off my files because I'm new resident to Florida from PA, and there would be no charge. And I said, okay, fine. So I showed up to the doctor's office, had the files. The lady looked at me and said, no. You need to talk to the nurse. They need to do. I don't need to talk to a nurse. I filled out your paperwork. I gave you my paperwork. I need to go. No, you have to have an appointment. I said, is it going to cost me anything? And I said that to her. The lady at the reception said, no, it doesn't cost a thing. I'm like, okay, as long as it doesn't cost a thing, I'm going to sit down and wait. So I sat down and wait.
How big was that bill?
Oh, it gets better. So next thing you know, I go in, I sit with the nurse. The nurse looks at me and asks questions. So have you had any problems? Or what's your blood type? All these other things. And I'm like sitting there going, why is this random so right now?
Why are you here?
Exactly. I'm like, I don't need to answer these questions. So with that, hold on a second. I got a little frog in my throat there.
Did you get a frog in your throat? Ribbit.
Yeah, I did. So anyway, the lady leaves, and I left the office. A couple months go by. I think I'm still covered by the insurance. So I have to call the insurance about something. The insurance company tells me I'm no longer with them. I'm like, wait, how am I no longer with you? I was doing automatic pay. So that was just funny right there. They didn't even call me. So then I called the doctor's office to see about getting some files and all this other stuff. They now proceed to tell me that I have a $300 bill to pay. I'm like, a $300 bill to pay? Where'd this come from? And they said, well, you sat with the nurse and you talked and all this other stuff. I'm like, no. I said I was here to drop off files. That's all I was supposed to do. And I was told by the receptionist that I have to see the nurse. And the lady looked at me and said, no, they shouldn't have told you that. And I'm like, they did. And then they're like, well, she shouldn't have said that. I'm like, she did. So next thing you know, I'm like, I'm not paying this $300 because I was told it was free too, because if it was going to cost me, I was going to walk out. So after much hemming and hawing on both sides, they said, okay, you only have to pay us like $150. I paid the $150 and walked away, but still, I looked at them and said, look, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm a licensed realtor, and I am not referring you to any of my clients. So you have now just spoiled your name over this whole thing. And that just goes to show you that if you would have owned up and said, oh, geez, we shouldn't have said that and all this other stuff, we'll make it right, we'll do this, you would have had it better.
No, screwing the pooch was more fun for them.
And they made $150 easy.
Hey, it's $150 they wouldn't have had
Exactly.
And that's exactly what they think of, because we don't care that it's going to cost money. We just care how much it's going to cost and whether or not we're going to get any.
Exactly. So that was the funny thing over everything that I saw. But to bring back another little thing, which is awesome that I saw, we now all saw the ads on TV, unless you don't watch TV, where baseball is back. Baseball is back. And the guy's screaming throughout the whole house. So I actually got to see a baseball game 2 days ago on TBS, and I had to laugh my tuchus off so much because obviously the stadium was empty. Behind the batter was like cardboard cutouts of people that they had there, and it was the most hilarious thing. Now, here's the other thing. My nephew, who watches basketball, I saw one of the games that they were watching. They have two different segments going on. One game I watched, they had a big screen on both sides, and it was like a Zoom conference call where people were watching. And the other game I saw, they actually had TV monitor screens in the bleachers themselves with the people in the bleachers watching it. Now, I heard, I don't know if it's true, but I heard that people are paying for these cardboard cutouts and also for these seats for monitors. Now, to me, I can watch it free on TV. Well, not really free on TV because I got to pay for cable, but it's probably much cheaper to watch on TV than it is to go to the game.
No argument there. I totally agree. However, it isn't the food, it isn't the drink, it is the experience that people are missing. They will do anything to hold on to that feeling of being there when the ball is hit over the fence. There's nothing like watching a great team make a great play. And unfortunately, because of what we're living with right now, people are missing that, and they will do anything to relive that or to recapture that moment.
So does that mean for like certain games, like let's just go with baseball, do they have the people cardboard cutouts with like the baseball mitts hanging up there? So if the ball gets hit home run, it hits the thing and says they got it?
Well, I feel bad for the Tampa Bay Rays because there's not going to be anybody in the field to go ding, 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 ding with the cowbells.
Oh, I haven't watched a game.
Think
I haven't
about
watched
that.
those.
You go to a live game in St. Pete for the Tampa Bay Rays, and you better have your cowbell with you, because every time they make a good play, everybody rings their cowbells. So with a cardboard cutout, you're missing 90% of the emotion right there.
This is true, but I had to laugh over that because it just made me very, I don't know, it just made me giggle, because then the next thing that we had talked about, but also on this subject too, is all the players, doesn't matter what profession they're in, they always want more money and they want millions of dollars and all this other stuff. Well, you think about it, if a ticket would have cost you at certain times like $100 plus whatever to go and whatever you had to go, you're not paying for all those tickets. So who's paying for your salary and how are you going to negotiate?
Well, does the words free agent mean anything to you?
Well, that could be, but then it also could be a dark reminder of a time where, well, I shouldn't say reminder of a time, it's still here, but pay-per-view. I can see things going to pay-per-view now, or some kind of station where you actually...
it's going to have to.
Yeah, where
you
people are going to pay for it.
You want to see the game? Buy the station. We'll be more than happy to view it for you.
And I'm not saying that people won't buy it, because they will. Cause
of course they'll buy it. They did before.
Yeah,
they'll do it again.
Certain sports fans will, even though I still remember the one time someone, I forget the two boxers, someone paid all this money to watch a boxing match, and the person was out in the second round, and people were pissed because they paid all that money to watch a game.
Mayweather?
I think it was something like that, but it was 2 rounds, and everyone's like, ah!
So, yeah, we're done.
That was the most horrible. So.
And a lot of people paid a lot of money for that.
Yeah. So it would be interesting to see what actually happens on these type of scenarios. So I thought this, I had to bring this up again.
It really gets to you, doesn't it?
No, I read this and I had to read it again because I had to make sure it wasn't the same thing that we covered last episode.
Oh, yeah?
But you remember the guy with the Lamborghini with the PPP?
Oh, God,
loan?
yeah. The one that crashed it?
Well, I don't know if he crashed. Maybe he did crash it.
Yeah, he did.
Here you go. A Texas person is accused of securing $1.6 million in the coronavirus relief funds and spending on a Lamborghini, a Rolex, strip clubs, and has been charged with fraud. So, once again, it kind of goes off to the fact of you're securing funds for your own personal pleasure when that's not what it was supposed to be. And they found out that the funds were also secured for certain celebrities, too.
You think maybe he was prepping for future employees for a future business, or, there has to be some reason. And I'm sure that because it was a guy, it would be logical.
I'm not saying that a Rolex, a Lamborghini, and going to strip clubs is not logical for a man, but I'm just saying, we had mentioned this in the last episode where, come on, people, they're going to find you, and I don't understand that. And so, because you mentioned it, I mentioned it, we're struggling trying to get certain loans, and you hear these stories, you're like, really? Why couldn't I get the $1.6 million? And I would have been happy.
Hey, I got my stimulus and I was jumping for joy. It just meant that it was easier for me that month than most months. But, that having been said, I think that the fellows that are looking at those kinds of things for educational value, for lack of a better term, I think their money could have spent a little more wisely. If you stop to think about it, now that's how, I don't know, how much is a Lamborghini? What do they cost?
No, I have no idea, but
Okay,
you're probably
me
talking
either.
six figures.
Oh, at least six figures. So you're looking at those six figures, and if you break that down, tear that up a little bit, and let's divvy it around. How many homeless children could you have fed or put up in housing or a shelter for that amount of money? You could have cleaned up an entire neighborhood and made it worth living in again. But no, let's not do that. Let's go watch somebody you are never going to meet, you are never going to get a chance to talk to, and she's sure not going to go out with you, and you're going to sit there and you're going to shell money out to her because she can wiggle her tuchus. I'm sorry, I can wiggle my tuchus, and I can go out here.
And you make good fried chicken, you just told me.
And I make good fried chicken, so I have something to sell.
There you go. But I just, once again, you're going to get caught. So I just thought that was so interesting. And then, like I said, the celebrities, I'm not mentioning their names, but they've been also seen to use this money too. And that's not what this was for. It was for small business. So on a lighter note, I know we just talked about sports, but I'm going to go back to a little bit. But Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, he bought the XFL.
He is so funny.
So he bought the XFL for $15 million because it was actually going bankrupt and they couldn't get people to watch the sport. So he actually now spent the $15 million to get it back up. And I'm not too familiar with XFL, so I had to research it. And basically, it is a professional American football league consisting of 8 teams divided equally between East and West divisions. And the season's run during winter to spring months.
Pretty much like our NFL.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. So it was just interesting.
Kudos to The Rock for doing this. Let me tell you something. That guy's got a lot on the ball, but there's no way I can get the visual of him with wings and blue satin pajamas out of my head.
What are you thinking? I don't want to know.
When we come back, I'll tell you.
180 over 111, and I had a stroke. I couldn't speak or walk.
150 over 90, and I had a stroke.
This is what high blood pressure sounds like. You might not feel its symptoms, but the results from a stroke are far from silent. Get back on your treatment plan or talk with your doctor to create a plan that works for you. Go to loweryourhbp.org.
Head to toe, everything's changed.
Brought to you by the American Stroke Association, American Medical Association, and the Ad Council.
You are listening to Society Bites Radio, and we are on Kiss My Keister. Where we left off at our last break was The Rock building on the XFL in the United States, picking it up out of bankruptcy. Now, as I said before, I could not get rid of the visual that's in my head. Now, keep in mind, The Rock is he's sexy. He's